General, you were still taking us through the timeline, the Unrest timeline. You may proceed.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Commissioner, in the short brief that I will be giving the Commissioner, I just want to, before we start with the timeline, just to indicate that as the South African Police Service, KwaZulu-Natal, we were having a number of protest actions that were in the province. In the month of April, we recorded, or we policed 202 crowd management situation or different events. In May, that figure went up to 219. This includes riots where people were protesting against service delivery and the issues of political positions and the likes. In June, that figure went up to 268 crowd management incidents that we were responsible for as the police. In July, similar things were still happening. So when the unrest happened, we were still busy with these operations. And I must say these, in the main, are executed by the Public Order Police Unit. So the unit was already occupied before we started with this challenge that we faced. What I showed you, Commissioner, is the timelines as we have recorded them as a South African Police Service. Commissioner, the timelines indicated on the screen starts from the 4th of July, and it ends on the 15th of July. It is our submission before this commission that these are the timelines of unrest. Anything that happened beyond the 15th of July, we do not record it as an unrest. So whoever that spoke about what they did after the 15th of July, they were not operating within the unrest period, according to our records. We're going to qualify that, Commissioner. Immediately after the Constitutional Court judgment, we noticed as a South African Police Service, KZN, a large gathering of media houses in front of the former president's homestead in Nkandla. They literally were camping that day and night. And you switch on a television in the morning, you hear commentators about the judgment, whether is it good or is it bad. The learned colleagues will analyze it, others will say, yes, it could be done under these circumstances, but the big majority of South Africans like myself, who might not be that clued up much about the court processes and legal processes maybe, will start being personal, and you say, but how do you trial a person how do you sentence a person without a trial? Now, these debates were encouraged by the media commissioners because they were being discussed in public platforms, and it allows every other person to start engaging and sharing their views. So for those that they were in support of the former president, started becoming angry from that time as these things were developing every day. Now, this is few days before the actual 4th, when the president is said that he must hand himself over. There were a lot of discussions that were taking place. So it worried us as the provincial management. Then we were even saying if we had any authority, we will switch off every communication that happens, transmission, so that people don't necessarily get to see what's happening at Nkandla. And then they can continue with their own businesses. Because the focus that was there at Nkandla at the time triggered anger towards many citizens, especially in this province. And we could see a potential of danger at the time. On the 2nd, Commissioner, which is a letter that we have here, on the 2nd of July, we wrote a letter. The letter to the Division Visible Policing and Operations at the head office. A letter where we are requesting for additional resources. This is us assessing what was happening in the media and the mood that we were seeing on social media and the likes. that made us realize that something probably big might be happening as when the president's supposed to go to prison. To prepare ourselves, we started developing a contingency plan. And in our contingency plan, we needed resources, reinforcement. That's why we wrote this letter to the head office on the 2nd of July. It's not on the timelines. I'm talking about the timeline starting on the 4th. So this letter was written, and it's here as a proof of when we started being active as the province, SAPS KwaZulu-Natal. Then I'm going to come back to the timelines as they appear on the screen. On the 4th, we started noticing these large gatherings that were taking place at Nkandla. These gatherings happened all the way until the 7th, when the president went to prison. Without elaborating much about every single day of what transpired at Nkandla, but the main criminal offense that was being committed at Nkandla was that of a disaster management regulations in terms of gatherings. As management, we look at the mood, we could assess the mood of the people in the country, in the province especially, and the sentences that are there available in relation to the gatherings. And we felt that if we were to act harshly at the time, we're going to divert the attention or that anger of these citizens back to the law enforcement, back to the police. Let's allow the process to unfold. As long as these crowds that are forming up at Nkandla are not endangering anybody's lives. So we allow those crowds to continue the way they're continuing. We were faced with a challenge, obviously, that should the former president appear at the police station, how we were going to deal with it. So we're preparing ourselves with that. The fortunate part is that the former president was and is still being protected by the South African Police Service. So it would have been easier for us to get a communication if he's on his route to a police station so that we're able to serve the committal warrant and then he can be taken to prison. The operation ran, it was in front of the television. I'm not going to repeat in this commission. And on the 8th, was a Thursday, the province was peaceful. It was a quiet day for everyone. Now, mind you, Commissioner, I forgot to mention that on the 2nd, when we wrote a letter and we're asking for resources, on the 3rd, the members came, and I'm going to show it as we explain. The first group of members were deployed by National to come and assist us because we already drew up a plan and we needed to execute that plan and we needed resources. And so they came exactly the following day. It was very quick. We then, on the 4th, we started running this operation until the 7th. The members were positioned in Richards Bay, that site, to be closer to Nkandla. On the 8th, it was quiet, in such a manner that even the Minister of Police, we felt that let's just give thanks to the members who were involved with the operation. We then we arranged a parade at Mpangeni on Friday morning, the 9th, to go and brief the members, and I'm sure the media houses will remember that because the minister was there. To our surprise, without any information, without being warned by anybody, as we were driving to Mpangeni, we were blocked on the road, on the freeway. There was a group of people that decided to block trucks, and they took away the keys of the truck drivers and they blocked the trucks across the roads. And that disturbed traffic in the morning. So we had to first deal with that situation, and we effected arrests. We recovered some truck drivers' truck keys from some of the suspects there, took their phones for downloading so we can see the coordination. Now, this happens on a Friday morning. That is a Nkandla district. We felt that maybe this is something that was done by just a group of these people that are angry that the former president went to prison, and it is only isolated in that area. But as the day progresses, we had a parade with the members, the minister addressed the members, and the minister left. As the day progresses, we started seeing other incidents that were happening in around the shore area where some people will stop the trucks and force the trucks to offload the cargo on the road, sand and rubbish and all that, to block the road, just to cause some disruption. But again, this thing is centered towards that area, the northern side of the province. So we then realized something seems to be happening in that area, so we move most of our resources towards Ilembe district and Nkandla so that we can secure that part, because it's something that we did not plan for. There was no briefing about it. There was no early warning about it. We didn't know what was going to happen. While we secured that, we thought, okay, everything is stable. That's during the day on the 9th. Then the evening, the sun went down, and in the middle of the night, we got the news that the trucks have been torched on the freeway, on the N3. And when we counted the number of trucks, we realized that it's a serious, organized event that is happening that we don't know anything about. We then were forced to have another meeting on the very same Saturday in the morning. We called a meeting with external role players, because the first part was just SAPS alone, SAPS alone. We then called other role players, which was then the joint operation. And we asked the intelligence to give us a briefing to tell us exactly what is happening here. Who's organizing this? And we see social media is becoming active. So unfortunately, the briefing report we received from crime intelligence could not provide us with the answers as to who's behind it and what has been planned and what is the next move. So we did not know necessarily what is it to expect next. I remember the CEO of the business chamber in Durban asked me, so General, what do you do now? The trucks are blocked and our storage are full here and the cargo must move out of the harbor. My response to her was that, ma'am, we really don't necessarily understand exactly what is coming here, what is happening. For safety of these trucks, can you please speak to your members to let these trucks move during the sunrise and sunset only? When the sun goes down, they must park, so that we can be able to understand what is happening on the ground and be able to secure the province. Because if they travel at night, the speed they're traveling with, and it's easy for them to be attacked. So obviously what we recommended didn't happen. They did not stop their trucks. But as the situation unfolds on the following day, the 10th, we then realized we need to make a call. I contacted the colleague from RTI. I said, shut down that freeway, the N3. So we deliberately decided to block all the vehicles from coming down so that we can organize ourselves, because we realized that the plan that we had for Nkandla, which was just for Nkandla and end Nkandla, was not necessarily applicable to this situation we're facing. So in the meeting that I said, again, we had on the Saturday, we then developed another plan. We adjusted the plan that we had in Nkandla, and we deployed a different strategy at the time. Social media was abuzz, and there were threats on the police officers. There were threats almost flying everywhere. Then we realized that perhaps we could be facing a domestic terrorist or something like that's happening in there. We don't know what's going on. Are they really going to attack police stations, to take firearms, as they are saying, or not? Will they attack critical government infrastructure or not? So then we said, it seems like we are entering a war situation. So the deliberate thing that we must do as a South African Police Service is to take position in the strategic points that are going to secure the critical infrastructure that is going to allow the country to continue, the province to continue beyond whatever that might be happening. We then decided to identify all these national key points. We identify all these government critical infrastructure. We identify everything, including communication towers, you name them. And we plotted them, and we said we needed to secure it in this fashion in all these places, including police stations. And we then decided to, as we were trying to manage the situation, we decided that we're going to request the additional support from the head office of additional members, and if needed be, the SANDF that needed to come and deploy. So that's how we were managing the situation. That's what informed our planning. Because we realized that the social media has been used, and they are now blocking the roads with burning tires, and they are targeting some shopping centers already at the time. So we needed to make sure that we protect what we can in order for us to be able to live beyond this. And I must say, Commissioner, that there's no town in this province that was not affected. We have 11 districts in KZN. All of them were affected. We have a list of all of them that were affected. We had a serious damage to infrastructure that occurred, at least 89 shopping centers or malls that were damaged. They attempted to damage the hospital, but they just ended on the fence of the hospital. Warehouses, factories, banks, ATM machines, liquor outlets, you name them. There's quite a lot of destruction, including schools. Quite a lot of schools that we destroyed at the time. Commissioner, we had recorded as a South African Police Service a number of 281 bodies that were picked up in relation to this incident that happened. So as a result of murders, people ended up fighting over a bottle of whiskey that they're finding it in a liquor shop, and they stab each other, they kill each other because of that. And others were trampled upon, and they could not run, and they end up dying for stampede, because of stampede. And there are others that will have been driven over by vehicles on the road as they were crossing the road, and so forth. So the total was 281. Now, Commissioner, in Marikana, the number is not even half of this. But in this province, we had this number, which means it is rather a very serious incident that we were facing at the time. Amongst the incidents that happened, we also had our own members that were injured, 26 members altogether that got injured during the process. Commissioner, as I say, we responded as we decided, okay, let's focus on these strategic places so we can deploy. We first had to appreciate that the size of the province. I'm not sure if I will bore the commission if I put that the population size of the province on the population figure that was recorded mid-term last year, it's just over 11 million citizens. Now, these exclude foreign nationals. 11 million citizens at the size of the square kilometer of 93,000 square kilometer of the province of KwaZulu-Natal, with at least a 600 kilometer long distance of an N2 from point to point, and a distance of 261 kilometers of the length of the N3 from Durban to Free State. At eThekwini alone, there's a total of 1,147 kilometers, the length of all the road network that is here. So we looked at this commission, we said, we only have 18,000 police officers. If we divide these 18,000 police officers according to the square meters of the province, where do we block? If we divide these 18,000 police officers against the number of these roads, and we say create roadblocks so we can block people not to drive and cause more looting, which roads are we going to target? Because every other road that is here in the eThekwini has been used by the rioters, the looters. They were driving on it, on these roads. So it became a mission impossible right at the onset. So whoever organized it, maybe they took time to study the security force and they knew our capabilities and our shortcomings. Hence, they did what they did. I'm not going to bore you with the ratio in terms of how many police officers we had versus the population size. But I must say, as I said earlier, there's quite millions of South Africans that were here that were on the good side and they were working with the police to try and secure. So we could capitalize on that. We could capitalize on security companies that were available in all provinces, and there's a list of them that we work well with. We could capitalize on them to help us to reinforce, because it was just us alone, nobody else. Hence I said, we had already communicated to National before the the former president met. We received deployments there, and we requested for additional. We even asked that if they could help us to bring down the SANDF so that the SANDF can take the strategic key points that we identified, such as the airport, the harbor, and so forth, so that they can free the South African police officers who are trained in dealing with civilians to go out there and enforce the law and try and maintain order in the province. Commissioner, we deployed quite a number of members. I'm not going to list them here, but as I said, total number of 18,000 were members that are stationed in KZN, but plus we had other national members that came in and other national components that were assisting at the time. We divided members into two shift system and let the members work 7 days flat without rest. And they work night shift only. So you wake up in the morning, sunset, you go home, sunrise, You wake up in the morning, you do the same thing. If you come with dirty clothes, tough luck, there's no time to wash. That is the situation that the members find themselves at the time. They were under that much pressure as we were operating. I must thank the unions, the leadership of the unions, because they never, not once, objected to this operational deployment that we were using at the time, because they also appreciated that the country needs to be saved. Something big is happening that we do not appreciate what it is. Now, it was said in previous presentation that we don't control crime intelligence. We are also receiving products. That's why when we're asking them in meetings on the record, all the products they were presenting to us are available on the record. We have kept them in all our meetings that we've had. Commissioner, on the 3rd of July, as I said, after writing this letter, on the 3rd of July, a batch of 174 members were deployed to the province. On the 11th of July, after appreciating this other thread that we're emerging from the 9th, we asked for additional 315 members were deployed additional to the province. And again, on the 13th of July, another 278 members were deployed to the province. And now, these were facilitated by General Masimula at the National Office. So he was taking members from other provinces and bringing them down to KZN. And I still warned General Masimula, I said, remember, General, this might not be confined to KZN. We do not know what's going on. It might happen in Gauteng. So if you are bringing members to KZN, do not take much from Gauteng province. Rather take from provinces that the threat is less, like Northern Cape and the likes. So that Gauteng can also be able to deal with the situation if it goes that side. As we know, a lot of KZN citizens, they frequent Gauteng a lot, and it's closer to get there. General Masimula, also from National Office, assisted us by bringing 2 helicopters which were deployed. The first one came on the 4th, before the incarceration of the former president. It was here in the province. And we also, on the 8th, we had an additional helicopter that was deployed to the province. We positioned one in Durban, we positioned another one in the northern side, in Mpangeni area, so that we can be able to have eyes on the sky to help us run the operation. The other forces that also assisted us, Commissioner, SANDF members, on the 14th of July, I've given you timelines. On the 14th of July, just towards the tail end of the riots, 451 members of the SANDF arrived in the province for deployment. On the 15th of July, that number started increasing, and it increased up to 5,000 in total members that ended up being deployed in KZN. We had 700 members from eThekwini Metro Police, Road Traffic Inspectorate, 668 members that were deployed, the local traffic in other districts, 417 members that were deployed. And there's a number of security companies, as I said, Commissioner, earlier, that we're utilizing, that we're working with, that were helping us to protect these infrastructures and the likes. We had a total number of 14 armored fleet crowd management vehicles that we're utilizing, 14 of them, the Nyalas, and we had 2 water cannons that we had deployed in the province at the time. One was in Durban, one was at Mpangeni. Commissioner, we utilized a total, at the time, before the Unrest started, we had a stock level of pyrotechnics. Those are the equipment that we utilize in crowd management situations. That includes the rubber bullets on shotguns, and that includes stun grenades that we use in crowd management situations. So we had, in the province, 161,784 rubber rounds that we had on stock. So it is not that we did not have less lethal weapon or ammunition that we needed to use in a crowd management situation. We had, and we were using it. We also had additional shotgun rounds, reduced charge of 108,000. We had tear gas, 4,450, and we had 3,000 stun grenades. All those additional stock were deployed from the National Office, and they came in batches. On the 29th of June, we received some stock. 29th of June is before the Unrest. We had received some stock. On the 13th of July, we received another stock. On the 14th of July, we received another stock. And on the 23rd of July, we received another stock. We utilize this ammunition in different districts. I'm not going to bore you with that, but we've outlined it exactly where we applied this district. The water cannon that we had, we utilized it. in different places, to be specific, at eThekwini district as well as King Cetshwayo, and specific areas, and we have that on record. There's quite a number of actions that were executed by us beside the fact that we were sitting at the national key points, securing those places. An example at the airport, at International Airport in Durban, it was only the South African Police Service that was securing that airport, no one else. The security guards that were deployed there, they did not even pitch up to work. So we sat there until such time the SANDF arrived, then we could release our members for the SANDF to stay on. We had 1,537 roadblocks amongst other operations that we conducted. So the list of activities, we searched premises, we searched people, we conducted patrols. The total number of dockets registered, that is in the record of the period that we're talking about involving unrest, we registered 7,122 case dockets. And we arrested just over 3,000 suspects, 3,093 that were arrested as a result of it. And I must say, Commissioner, that the capacity of our cells to detain people that we are arresting in the province is 5,000. And we already at the time were half full because of other hardcore criminals. So when we were arresting these 3,000, it was obvious that we can't detain them. We have no place to detain them. So the system was clogged. The prisons at the time, they have 18,000 beds, and they were sitting with 21,000 inmates inside the prisons before the unrest. So even if we took these people to prison, which obviously they can't go there without going via court, the prison couldn't take them. And when you look at number of cases, were not necessarily serious cases. Yes, some of them will be serious, but theft was the main thing, because they will go in there, take whatever they take, and we get them on the road, in the car, wherever, with the goods, and we must charge them for stealing whatever that they will have had at the time, from the cheese that they will have stolen to the television or the couch or whatever that they will have stolen. We were opening cases because we as a law enforcement, we must enforce the law as it stands, regardless of what is the value of the items being stolen, so we had to do that. So majority of these cases, as you will see, they were either we're giving people warnings, and they were finalized without necessarily having to detain people. And I must say, there were no minors, fortunately, that were amongst those that were arrested during the time. This happens while we are in the middle of disaster management regulations. So neither these crowds are wearing masks. Even our police officers that were issued with protective gear, because of the work that they had to conduct, majority of the members could not think of their own health. They did not even have time to change the mask and put masks, because you have these crowds that you must deal with while your hands are full. We are trying to arrest a person. The mask comes off. You can't say to the criminal, wait, let me put a mask on first before I can arrest you. So you end up forgetting about your mask. It goes off, you deal with the suspect. So members expose themselves. That's why I am thanking them so much, Commissioner, that they risk their lives. Majority of our members. Yes, we have few of them that we'll explain later that made us not to look good as police officers as well in the mix. Commissioner, I want to quickly run and tell you about the total of other incidents that happen which are not racially related, which are things that, although there was looting and people were dying as a result of stampede and so forth, but we then started experiencing these racial tensions that were happening in 3 areas, especially in Phoenix, in Chatsworth, and as well as Mountain Rise in Pietermaritzburg. Phoenix, a total of 36 people died. In Chatsworth, 6 people died. In Mountain Rise, 2 people died as a result of racial-related attacks. We describe it like that. Maybe I must just go back a bit, Commissioner, if you allow me. The day when the president was taken to prison, I was sitting in that operational room together with the Minister of Police, Minister Cele, and other senior officers we were working with. The following day, we received the news that one of our colleagues had passed on due to COVID, Lieutenant-General Mkhwanazi, may his soul rest in peace. And we then realized that in the meeting we were in the presence of Brigadier Vishnaidu, who was in a close contact with Lieutenant-General Mkhwanazi. And he sat with us the whole day and whole night until the president was in prison. So we were in direct contact with Brigadier Naidu. The following day, when we were going to Mpangeni to thank those members, Brigadier Naidu had to go and do this test. He got this test positive. So by protocol of government, it forced the Minister of Police, myself, and all the other senior officers was there, Jarama Simul as well, to go on a self-isolation. So we go on self-isolation on a Friday. The riot started on Friday night. The difficulty that one had to face at the time. These are things that are not known. At least maybe the South Africans will get to appreciate. Commissioner, I normally have someone that assists me to drive around and go to places when I need to move. But because of the self-isolation rule, I was forced to be alone in the vehicle and I had to use my own private car. I drove to Phoenix in the middle of the night. After getting these reports of what's happening, I wanted to see myself what was going on. I took my firearm and I said, if I die, I'll die going there. So I went there physically around 9 o'clock in the evening to go and appreciate what is happening on the ground, because we're hearing that people are dying in Phoenix. And I must say, when I arrived there, it was kind of a war zone setup. The way the roads were blocked, it did not make an easy movement of traffic. And we got reports that even our police officers were being assaulted by the citizens of Phoenix, simply because some of them are not of the same race as those that were blocking the road. So we realized that the situation is becoming tense in Phoenix. That's why we then had to reinforce deployments of our police officers to Phoenix, because inside Phoenix, there wasn't much looting that was happening. Looting was happening in Konobia next to it. But as people are driving through Phoenix, then they get blocked and their vehicles are banned, people are assaulted. The videos that we have on our case dockets as we're investigating these cases, some of them makes you angry, Commissioner, when you look at them, where a man is forced to kiss another man, and they're taking records on that, amongst other things that were happening. People were shot point blank. So at least the teams that we formed have helped us to arrest some of these culprits. The community of Phoenix, I must say, have helped us to get evidence against some of the culprits. There's quite a lot of evidence we recovered because of the citizens of Indian origin in Phoenix who are giving us evidence against some of their own in Phoenix. So it is few of those that have got these racial tensions that created this mayhem, not the large population of Phoenix or in Chatsworth or in Mountain Rise, but there are few of them that have got this hatred. There's always going to be a bad apple wherever you go in life. We find them in these areas as well. There's quite a lot of, came up with analysis in terms of how people these cases came about, but quite a number of them that were killed, commissioners, they were shot. 38 of them, 38 dead bodies, it was a result of, 44 dead bodies was a result of being shot at. Now I'm putting all these three areas combined, Phoenix, Chatsworth, and as well as Mountain Rise. That is just on murders alone. But there's quite a lot of incidents also on attempted murders, 63 of them. Luckily, they survived, but they were all being shot at. For what? I do not know. I cannot necessarily answer that, but through the courts, as we are in court with quite a number of them, it will give us answers as to really what was the real reason for them to do this. So in Phoenix, as we deployed extra members from the 12th onward, and we reinforced, and we had roadblocks, and we had to clean the streets. It's not a job of a police to clean the streets, but we needed to get an easy free flow of traffic to bring the country back into normality. We had to help in cleaning up the streets. So we formed a dedicated investigation team only for Phoenix, but all the other cases in district, we had district teams that were dealing with those cases in different districts, working with prosecution and guiding them in terms of those investigations. The high-profile cases, Commissioner, crimes against the state, such as crimes are those people that are alleged to be instigators, were given to DPCI, so DPCI will be able to respond on those status of those cases. But we continue working very close up to now with the prosecution team and guiding us in terms of the investigation going forward. So I'm going to leave it there, Commissioner. There's basically the timelines of what happened. As I said, this started from the 9th until the 15th when we then started experiencing this chaos in the province. The 15th, it ended. The 15th, beyond the 15th, the ministers arrived. Yeah, on the 15th exactly, the ministers arrived in the province, and then we had a briefing of the ministers, and from there, it was the operation to recover the stolen goods. From there, it was the investigations only that were taking place. From there, it was the identification of the deceased, and so forth. There was no riot in the province at the time. So, a majority of our military colleagues came during that time, and they were assisting us in the recoveries and the likes. So anyone that is going to come before the commission and claim that there were operations of stabilizing the province from the 15th onward will have to then come and confirm as to where was the case recorded, because the South African Police Service, we've been keeping records of all incidents. Commissioner, as I'm closing, as I said when I started presenting the timelines, on the 18th, I had the planned leave where my wife was going to give birth, and she was in Pretoria alone. And she was scheduled to go to the hospital on a Monday, the 19th. I had already indicated to her that things are so difficult in this province. I don't think I'm going to be there when you give birth. That's how difficult things are. And she made peace with it. Luckily, she's in the police as well, and she understands the call of duty. But when we realized from the 15th onward that things are calm in the province, and we are now in an operation of recovery of goods, and I felt then, let me engage with the National Commissioner and the Minister, though I did not have to speak to the Minister, but I had to give him a prayer. I said, Minister, I think I should be allowed to go to Pretoria, assist my wife, and let her give birth and take her to the safer place and come back, because my leave was scheduled for 3 weeks, but I did not take a 3 weeks leave. The Minister agreed, the National Commissioner agreed. On the Sunday, the 18th, I drove up to Pretoria, and I saw quite a big contingent of military vehicles that were coming down. And as we had said, we wanted them to be in the strategic deployment areas, because it was the cannons, it was the R4s that they were using on the streets, and we're not supposed to use that during crowd management. That's why we did not necessarily plan to deploy them with those vehicles. But nevertheless, they came on that Sunday when I was going up to Pretoria. The Monday, my wife gave birth. On the Friday, she came out of hospital. On Saturday, my daughter was 4 days old. I took her and my wife into the vehicle, and I drove with them just over 1,000 kilometers to my in-laws, where a place of safety, which is outside KZN, and I had to leave them there. So I left my wife, who had an operation. I drove with her for 4 days. I'm sure the women that have given birth will understand the difficulty of having an operation, and within 4 days, we were in the vehicle and we were driving 1,000 kilometers with a 4-day-old baby. So that's a sacrifice I made because I love the job I'm doing. So I wanted to take them to a safer place, which I did. I left them there. I got in the aeroplane, I flew back, and I was back again at work. So the minister, the former Minister of Defense, will have came here and indicated that there was a lack of cooperation with the South African Police Service. The kernel of the army was not being finished with intelligence information. We have it on record here, Chair. All our meetings that we've had during the time, as I said, we were running an operation as the police alone from the 2nd, from the 4th onward, but from the 9th, when we experienced the difficulty of the truck burning and blockages, we then arranged a meeting which set on Saturday the 10th, where all the role players, other role players were invited, including the military. The communication we're having with the colonel of the army, asking resources and telling him where we want these resources deployed, is available. From the 10th, as we're communicating with the colonel. Perhaps the minister was not told that truth, but we have it on record. So we can show it this commission so that the commission can appreciate that. But when we read the minister's statement, we realized that the minister is saying that she was informed by a chief joint operation, I think 6.9 of a paragraph, of a statement, that paragraph. She makes a reference to a briefing that she received, which says to her, the police is not cooperating, the colonel of the army has not been briefed about anything, and the military does not know where to deploy. And as I said, whoever that might have briefed her, surely it was not Colonel Nhlanhla, because Colonel Nyalunga was with us here in the province. Colonel Nyalunga was getting communication, was operating with us throughout the process. But I will then encourage my colleague. I know she said this one, she doesn't want to get deeper into it. I left on the 18th, Commissioner. On the 19th was a Monday. Perhaps she might explain more exactly what transpired, that what the minister claimed to be a better cooperation, an operation that I'm told was running at one of the five-star hotels in the province, and a military operation or security operation that was coordinated by the former minister together with the Minister of State Security at the Beverly Hills Hotel, where we didn't run operations there, but they were there. Commissioner, I want to end there, if allow my colleagues to explain the interaction from Beverly Hills, from the 19 when I was on leave, what operation were they running? Perhaps she will explain more on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Please, briefly, Major General.
Thank you, Commissioner. Maybe let me start by saying that my position on my portfolio, I'm the Deputy Provincial Commissioner, Policing. As part of my duties, so my duties entail overseeing and commanding operations in the province, also entails supporting the district commissioners and ensuring that interventions are provided where they are needed. Directing all the forces on the ground, they fall within the command of the station commanders and the district commissioners, and I'm overseeing every woman and man in blue, including the station commanders, on behalf of the Provincial Commissioner as a deputy. Coming back to what my Provincial Commissioner was talking about, yes, I started acting as the Provincial Commissioner on the 19th, from the 19th of July. But that was a Monday, so in actual fact, I started acting over the weekend, the 17th, the 18th. But even before the 18th, we had, as SAPS, at the Provincial Office, we had constant communication with all the forces, that is Metro Police, SANDF, and everyone else that was involved in the operation, as the Provincial Commissioner has indicated. I am not aware of any disintegration or non-cooperation between SAPS and SANDF. I have on my phone records of WhatsApp messages, apart from phone calls and physical meetings, face-to-face meetings that I was holding with Colonel Nyalunga and his team in my office. Over and above that, I have WhatsApp messages where we were communicating, where I was directing Colonel Nyalunga or the SANDF where to deploy. I am not going to divulge details, but the very first WhatsApp message, because we started communicating via WhatsApp, giving each other details of where to post or where to deploy and where we needed SANDF the most, from the 12th. That was between myself and Colonel Nyalunga, and also between myself and Colonel Ntuli. They were coming to my office, we were having meetings, and we had a very good working relationship. There were no gaps until the weekend of the 18th, when Colonel Nyalunga indicated to me that there are generals that have been deployed from head office, generals from SANDF, and I got to meet the generals at Beverly Hills. I was not invited. I can indicate that at the time, National Office had also deployed Major General Zulu, who was coming to assist the province, considering what was happening. So when we heard that the generals were at Beverly Hills, we went there uninvited, and we found the generals, and they welcomed us with open hands. So we had a meeting with the generals. We discussed our issues, we discussed where the threats are, we discussed where we needed them the most, where we need them to deploy, and where we need them to relieve members from the national key points, as the Provincial Commission has indicated. After that meeting, that was on Sunday evening, at about 9, Sunday evening, then we were introduced by the generals to the minister, the then Minister of Defense, as well as Minister of State Security, who were also at one of the boardrooms in the hotel. We had meetings there right until late evening. Then we had follow-up meeting the following day, that was on Monday morning at 7 o'clock. On Monday, after which other meetings that we were having with the ministers, now the Minister of Police was also there. The follow-up meetings then were held at the Provincial office on the 17th floor. Those meetings were held on a daily basis. In some instances, we were having more than 2 meetings a day. Commissioner, that is where I want to end at the moment, but just to reiterate the fact that all the deployments of SANDF were directed from my office on behalf of the Provincial Commissioner. In the absence of the Provincial Commissioner, when I was acting, I was still commanding, but I also had the assistance of National Office, Major General Zulu. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. General Mkhwanazi, could you make the presentation available to the Commission and other documents you've referred to in your opening remarks? The legal team has also indicated that we need to conclude at 5 p.m., which means we'll not be able to finish with all the questions that the legal team intends to pose. I would like to start off firstly.
The letter that General Mkhwanazi referred to, do you want that to become Exhibit D?
Well, we've
First one we requested additional officers. On
we have not received the letter formally, Chairperson. As soon as it is made available, we will make a request that it be admitted.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the legal team has noted some of the submissions, and we are of the view that we'll need some time to reflect and communicate a new date to the Provincial Commissioner. There's quite a lot of information that we still need to digest, and we also need some of the documents that you've referred to. I mean, for example, one of the things we're not aware of is the meetings at this five-star hotel. So the testimony is in contradiction with what the former minister said, so we'll need a bit of preparation on that. But for the next 20 minutes or 15 minutes, I'll just ask a few questions. The first being, how many public order policing members do you have in KZN?
Sorry, the question was, I didn't hear well.
How many public order policing members are located in the KwaZulu-Natal province?
Should I answer now?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
I will have to then get the exact number, but they're just over 1,000. But I'll get the exact, just give me a second, Commissioner. Okay, confirmed, Commissioner, they are 985.
985 members.
Yes, we've lost about 68 of them who have left the service.
But as at the time of the unrest, you had about 985.
No, it is 985 now,
Now,
yes.
please check, as at the time of the unrest, how many were still in active service and were on duty? And how many were deployed from other provinces following your request on the 2nd of July to the national office?
Yeah, so let's take the 2nd of July. On that date, how many public order police officers are on active service in KZN? Is the first question. And also on the 2nd of July, the people that were allocated on the 3rd, how many of them?
Okay, Commissioner, I'm trying to open my attachment here because I don't want to be quoted out of context in terms of the numbers, so that I can be exactly. As I said, we had developed an operational plan when we were running this operation, and as a result, we will have had the numbers that were deployed at the time for the operation specific. If the Commissioner will give me some time to locate it.
No problem.
What's up? You sent it to me on the phone.
No, I left my phone inside there. Yes, you can. Now, the Commissioner is looking for the number of POP from the province. I've had it here on the I think I left the figures from the province, the numbers that we had, but the ones that were deployed from national, which came us to assist after the letter of the 2nd, was 174. That was the national reserve that came through to augment the numbers that we had on the ground. Like I said, we were. Okay, thank you so much. The total number of members here on the record that were deployed at the time was 870 from the province. 870 members from the province, together with that additional number of members from national that came through. So in total, we had well over 1,000 members that were part of the operation.
Did you receive any other further reinforcements from other provinces?
Commissioner, on the 3rd of July, we received 174 members. On the 11th of July, we received 315. On the 13th of July, we received 278. Those are the deployments that came into the province. With that came 2 helicopters as well. And plus the number of non-lethal equipment that was deployed to the province, as I outlined, which comprised of 108,000 shotgun rounds, rubber rounds, 4,450 tear gas canisters, and 3,000 stun grenades.
And how many members were deployed at the President's residence on the 4th, where there was a large gathering in support of the President?
Commissioner, on the 4th, the Sunday that was named as D-Day by the media, a special day. We had quite a number of members that were deployed as part of the operation, but our strategy was not to come mainly closer to the president's residence, because we understood that if he does not hand himself over, he still has time, where up to the 7th, where we could effect an arrest. So we only had, I think, 2 platoons at the time closer to the president under the leadership of Colonel Lukosi from Public Order Police. And the rest of the members were sitting at the satellite station that is about 2 kilometers from there. And the other big contingents were sitting at a shore area that was the reserve capacity we had, and the other one was staged at Kranskop. So we did not necessarily have exact numbers of the members there. I will be lying if I say beside the 2 platoons, if there's other police officers that might came in and gone. And I'm not counting the protection service from the South African Police Service that was guarding the president. So I'm not counting them on that.
In your letter to the national office, why did you specifically request additional support? Was it because of intelligence information you had gathered? Was it because of the early warning systems in place in the province? Or was it because you are anticipating challenges as a large number of people were gathering outside the president's home?
Commissioner, I said earlier when I started, the presence of the media at the president's home created an atmosphere in the province where people started getting excited. And with that excitement, people's comments on social media, people's comments in the media platform, different television stations about the correctness or otherwise of the decision taken by the courts. Those analyses, we could realize that the mood is changing in the province, and the chances are that we're going to have a problem when the president has to either go to prison. There might be some chaos that is going to erupt in the province, although we did not expect it to move away from Nkandla and be spread around the whole province and beyond into other provinces as well. But it is there to inform us. As we're watching TV, as we're watching the social media, we realize that the mood is changing. We did engage crime intelligence, I must say, and ask them if they know anything about what is going on, what has been planned. The only thing they will have presented to us, which is on the records on all the presentations that were given, which unfortunately they are classified. We can't share that with the commission here in public, maybe through other means. Almost all what is regarded as intelligent product, well, when there's something is got a title, they say crime intelligence, and it's got a signature at the bottom, or it's got a heading of an intelligence community, coordinating committee with a signature at the bottom, it does not necessarily mean it tells you who is planning to do what, when, and how. It simply says to you, there's a communication on social media that says this is going to happen. There's a publication somewhere that says these people are planning to do this. So therefore, police go and deploy. So when you get such a thing, it's good as not being a product for you. But in a true sense of the word, maybe John Standing Commission of Intelligence will have to tell us what is the real intelligence product. But for our operations, almost every other thing we received throughout the whole period did not help us with operations. So we were working on what we were getting from the social media throughout.
Okay. So at the time when you received all these reinforcements, had you as the provincial commissioner identified the hotspots in the province?
Yes, we did. Hence
at the time, which areas were the main hotspots?
No, our focus, as I said when I explained earlier, when we saw the blockage on the N2, the disturbance that happened around the shore, the burning of trucks on the N3, we did not understand what is going on, where is it happening, because we thought it's happening here, next thing it goes to a totally different district of Etuela. And we did not understand what is going on, and where are they going next? What are they going to burn next? What are they going to destroy next? We then felt that the national key points might be targeted. We felt the critical government infrastructure might be targeted. And then we felt that other critical infrastructure like food distribution centers, some shopping centers might be targeted. So we then prioritize all those. That's why when we deployed, Commissioner, there's a unit in the South African Police Service which I used to work for, which is called the Special Task Force. They don't dress like us, they wear camouflage. They're like the army. They only deal with high-risk operations. They don't deal with crowd management situations. But we had to mobilize even such a unit. Pavilion is standing because of that unit. That pavilion mall would be burned down because the township next to it, they wanted to get in. Special Task Force stood guard and guarded that unit. The shopping center in Pietermaritzburg, working with the South African Police Service, a Magma security company, if they did not do what they did to help us when we were outnumbered, that mall would have been down. So the coordination we're having with our counterparts, security industry and other forces within the South African Police Service helped us. We've got a political task team here, which are investigators. Their job is to come investigate cases of political matters. But the Gateway Mall next to us, as well as the Conopia next door, are still standing because of the political task team. They took guard, and I was working with them at night while I was still on this SAHRC solution, but I would go there and stand guard the whole night with them. So everyone was working. We had to swap a tie with a firearm so that we can be able to protect the property. And these are properties that were not necessarily government properties, but we deliberately took a decision that we'll secure this one and that one and that one and that one, and the others, tough luck. We can let them burn if they do. But we realized at the time that we just cannot, with this size of the province, we can't secure everything. We just had to deal with what we could. That was our approach, sir.
Yeah, despite contraventions of the national state of disaster, I do appreciate and understand how you responded to the gatherings outside the president's home in Nkandla. However, would you say this unrest is an example of a spontaneous gathering, or, in your view, was it a planned gathering?
Commissioner, we just do not know whether it was planned. If so, when was it planned? Because we did not necessarily have intelligence briefing on it. However, the gathering at Nkandla, as I said, was influenced by what people were seeing and what they were reading about during the whole period in the run-up to the 4th of July, after the Constitutional Court ruling. But what happened from the 9th, the blockage of road on the N2, the destruction around the shoreway, the burning of the tires on the N3 at Moy River, it made us realize that it is now a coordinated incidents that are happening. They're not just by coincidence. It can't be that while we are in this province, some 200 kilometers away, something similar happened. Because the trucks burn at Moy River, and shortly after that, another truck burns in the south, on the N2 next to Mkhwanazi, on the freeway as well. So we could see that it's coordinated, and we started getting some of the voice notes that were circulating, and we started realizing people start coaching each other to take off the number plates in vehicles, how to make a petrol bomb, and when we realized we're dealing with people that even know how to make petrol bombs because perhaps they might have been involved in the armed struggles or whatever. So the techniques that they were deploying, the modus operandi they were deploying, it showed us that it is a coordinated effort, but whether it is something that was spontaneous from the 9th or it's something that was pre-planned, we can't say that. It could be that it was not planned, but maybe as when the president was arrested, somebody came with the idea, let's do this, and then they started coordinating from there. We do not know. But what we know that the looting and the chaos that happened from the 9th onward was planned. But the timelines of planning, we can't tell that because we never really had any intelligence on it.
So was the plan adapted because you could not diffuse this within a reasonable period of time? Or was it adapted because of your monitoring of developments in the media and the situation on the ground?
Now, say in the main, like I said, when the 9th, the attacks happened on the 9th, the morning of the 10th, we had a meeting. It is in that meeting when we asked intelligence to brief us whether do they know of who's planning what, and when we did not get any positive thing, we then realized that something is happening, we just don't know what it is. So the best thing is to secure the strategic points first. So police officers had to be deployed at police station to guard police station because circulating on the media was to attack police stations and take firearms. So we do not want whoever is planning whatever riot to arm themselves by using us. So we had to secure police stations. That's number one. Number two, we had to then secure all the national key points, including the airport, as I'm saying, the harbour in Durban and many other places that we had to secure. We blocked all the vehicles from driving on the N3. We deployed members of this trash from here to Free State to protect the N3 so that people don't destroy it, don't damage it further, because after this, we still want to use it. The same with the N2. So we deliberately took positions in all these places, and when the colleagues, the general still ask me, the general, when people are causing a riot out there, how do we then stop that? I said, but we don't have resources. If we have enough, then we will go out there. That's why we need the army to take over from here so that we can go there. Because what's the use of burning down the entire harbor and burning down the entire airport because we were running to KwaMashu to go and protect a shopping center there. I can't remember what is it called. There's a shopping center was burnt down in KwaMashu, Bridge City. So we send forces to go and protect Bridge City, KwaMashu, and we leave the airport to burn. So we then had to strategically think, what is more critical for us? Do we secure a shopping center of Konopia and leave a food distribution center somewhere? So we deliberately will go for a food distribution center. Pity, I think over 10 calls I received during the period, Commissioner, where I was called by many senior people to go and protect the SA breweries. Well, we had to deploy members there. Unfortunately, because the calls were coming thick and fast. So this is the situation we're facing with the South African Police Service, to go and protect SA breweries and let other things burn.
Yeah. I still need clarity on this. So between the 4th and the 15th of July, you were still on duty, correct?
That's correct.
And the unrest or the looting and destruction started on the 9th, and you were still on duty at the time?
I was on self-isolation. If I'm going to be in prison for that, forgive me, Commissioner, but I had to work.
Yeah.
Isolation or not. So
Are you aware of an instruction to police members to stand down? There were allegations made.
Yeah, no, those allegations are not true. I'm glad that the Premier did challenge the person who made the allegations. They are not true. They are not true.
Okay, and because of time, I have 5 minutes, and I'll just ask about Phoenix briefly. We'll give you an opportunity to expand further when we reconvene. You highlighted the role that was played by security companies. In relation to the events of Phoenix, what role did they play specifically? You said they are a force multiplier. What was the role of security companies in Phoenix?
So without specifically pointing out the specific security company, but there are quite a number of facilities that were protected, where the security companies will stand guard, and as when they spot something, they will contact the police, and the police will respond immediately, and that will assist us to stop or prevent any further destruction of that particular property. And as they're driving around and they spot a vehicle that has got looted items in it, they will follow the vehicle and alert the police, and will stop those vehicles and we arrest people. So there was quite a number of them that assisted in the very same Phoenix. Unfortunately, there were others that maybe before the commission or maybe for other experiences that people had in the past, where some security companies were branded as those that would have violated the human rights in Phoenix. But as a police officer, I can only talk about the facts. As it stands, we don't have any case against any security company.
But are you at least aware that some of these security companies are under investigation by the Private Security Regulatory Authority?
I'm a South African Police Service member. I worry about a case docket. I'm not aware of the arrest.
Well, but you are said that you have good relations or you work with security companies. It is a fair assumption that you'd also, from time to time, liaise or have engagements with SAHRC, which regulates the conduct of security companies. Otherwise, would be collaborating with people who are supposedly committing crimes.
Okay, if you're talking about all security companies in the province, it is not necessarily all of them that we're in good books with. We are investigating, we have seized a number of firearms from a lot of them. There are some of them that we took from Phoenix as well for ballistic tests to see whether they can't be linked with any crime that happened in Phoenix. We have since handed them back, some of those that were cleared. But there are a lot of security companies in this province that have been involved in leasing their firearms to private individuals who then use these firearms to commit murders and kill politicians. So we have since arrested quite a number of them. We've seized a lot of firearms from them. We've made submissions to the SAHRC to conduct investigation about the operations of such security companies. So there are a lot of them that we're in court with. It is not all the security companies that were involved. I thought you were asking those that were working well with us in Phoenix at the time. Yeah. What was their role?
Are you, or did you observe, as we are going to Phoenix, any barricades or barriers that were set up on public roads?
Yeah, no, definitely. I saw that. I drove through that myself in the evening.
In your view, is this lawful? Are members of the public allowed to set up barricades?
Totally unlawful. And I must say, Commissioner, it was not only in Phoenix where such happened. In many other places it happened. Around Durban North here at Nkandla Rocks, we had to go and tell all those people to remove all those barricades that they've set up. Because I think at the time, you could understand the community, how they felt. They were in panic. Nobody could understand what's going on because there was no communication that says this what is planned. Things are happening, and yet you don't know what's coming next. So the panic from the community could be understandable, but we then engage with them through CPF that as much as we are doing good, but what we are doing now is beyond the law. Remove this barricade. You can sit on the side of the road and observe all the people that are coming to your locality and be able to warn us as a police and stand there with the police also. And you're not allowed to stop vehicles and search vehicles and so forth. So there were a number of barricades in the whole province, not only in Phoenix alone.
Yeah. So on which date were you in Phoenix? You said you drove to Phoenix at 9 in the evening. On which date? Was it the 12th?
I cannot remember now, Commissioner, I'll be lying.
Or before the 12th?
Should be between the 11th and the 12th or somewhere about. I will have to go and check my GPS of my car.
Is it after attacks and killings in Phoenix that you
when
decided
I
go
got
there?
well, I do not know the exact whether the attacks or the attacks happened to the people happened in a specific hour, but there were already reports that were coming to me that there is these murders, that bodies that have been picked up in Phoenix and someone has been killed. And many of them might not have been known as to what killed them. And police will just receive reports that there are dead bodies lying on the street. And as when those numbers were going up, it couldn't be concerned as to what is going on in Phoenix that makes so many murders, so many bodies to be picked up. That's why I decided in the middle of the night to take my car and drive there to go and see what's going on. So I went through the entire barricades that were set up there in Phoenix. Then I realized that there are people or communities, some community members that have decided to make Phoenix kind of a war zone on their own.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I see it's 5 o'clock now. Commissioner, I think we will leave it here for today. A new date will be communicated to the Provincial Commissioner. And when we reconvene, we'll continue with questions on Phoenix and other questions that colleagues have regarding the unrest. Thank you.